Michail Antonio is currently West Ham's most important player. That's my opinion. I will explain why. But we've got one rule on Hammers Chat, whether it's me, Gonzo, Charlie, we have a guest come on a video. You guys in the comments, we request one thing, well, two. You just be polite to each other. But the most important rule is you are honest. And it doesn't really matter what your opinion is. It doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. As long as it's your opinion and it's your true opinion. So you might love Moyes and want him to sign a new contract. Good. You might really dislike Moyes and want him gone in the summer. Also good. Emerson or Creswell at left back. Self-analysis this summer, keep him next season. It doesn't really matter as long as it's your honest opinion. And my honest opinion is that Michail Antonio is West Ham's most important player right now. Now let me clarify. I'm not saying he is our best player. That's Declan Rice. But our most important player. And the reason for that is because he's irreplaceable. If you were to run through what you think our best starting 11 is, the goalkeeper, Fabianski, well, you can swap him for Ariel. It's not the end of the world. Right back, Soufal's missing. We've seen Kedar step in. Zuma, our best centre-back, comes out of the team. We can get by without him, whether it's Kedar, Ogbonna, Kedar, Gerd, or Gerd Ogbonna. Maybe not that one. But we can get by without Kurt Zuma. Moving into midfield, Declan Rice is obviously the more difficult one to replace in there. Downs coming in doesn't quite do the same job. But I think we could get by. Just. Paqueta, again, we don't have a like-for-like replacement, but you'd imagine with Rice, Souček and Lanzini in there, we'd probably be okay. Now, the two wingers actually are also becoming more and more important as we get on throughout the season. I appreciate we're at the end of it now. But Jared Bowen, I would have applied this to Jared Bowen last season, by the way. Last season, I would have said Bowen is our most important player. And that's the point about this tag. It's very temporary. If there was another month to go in this season, it might change. My opinion on who West Ham's most important player at that point may very well change. But for now, it's Michail Antonio. But last season, I would have said it was Jared Bowen, because without him, my confidence in us scoring goals dropped significantly because of the form he was in. But we don't really have a replacement for him, and we don't really have one for Said Benrahma. We've seen that. It was the proof was there on Sunday. But I think we'd possibly get by without one of them. If Bowen was missing, we could play Fornals or Cornet or Lanzini. It wouldn't be pretty, but we could possibly just about do it. Same with Benrahma. But with Antonio, you take Michail Antonio out that team, it stops. The whole system functions around Antonio being our striker. We have seen us try in the last month, try and adapt, trying to find ways of playing without Antonio, whether it be for the last half hour of the game against Brentford. It just doesn't work. When Antonio leaves the pitch, we practically stop. Now, Ings actually played quite well, I thought, on Thursday against Alkmaar. I thought he was actually pretty good when he came onto the pitch. But nevertheless, right now, I feel Antonio is the most important player. And the reason I'm doing this video today is because we've got Alkmaar tomorrow night, second leg semi-final, and there's been doubts over Antonio's fitness. Now, he's going to be there. I'm pretty confident Antonio will be playing tomorrow night. Soufal's back in the squad as well, apparently, which is a massive boost if true. But nevertheless, back to Antonio. If that team came out tomorrow night and Antonio was not there, I would get incredibly worried. My nerves would go through the roof. My anxiety would go through the roof. If Antonio is in that team, I'm going to relax quite a lot. My optimism is going to increase. My confidence is going to increase. And the amount of emotion that hinges on Antonio is incredible. The amount of West Ham being efficient tomorrow night that hinges on Antonio, it shouldn't be the case. I actually think it's a bit of a damning failure that we are at this point, really. And we'll get on to another reason as to why I'm impressed by Antonio recently. But without him, we just don't work. I think he's our most important player right now. We've seen it against Brentford on Sunday. One of the things, we changed 9 of the starting 11, whatever it was. We made a lot of changes, you know this. Cornet, Fornals, Ings, that was the front three. Lanzini, Souček and Downs in the middle. One of my biggest frustrations was, despite changing the personnel, and let's talk about the top end of the team, taking out Jared Bowen and putting in Pablo Fornals, it's completely different players. Let's start with the simple stuff. Bowen is left-footed and cuts inside. Fornals is right-footed and can't cut inside. The directness, the difference in pace, the difference in skill, they're completely different players. Then on the left-hand side, we took out Benrahma and put in a Kone. Now, feels like there's a little bit more of similarities between the two in terms of how direct they can be. There's the pace, there's a less of a decrease there. But again, left foot, right foot, but I think Cornet was put in his best position, or certainly a position we thought we were buying him for, because when he got injured against Wolves back in October, that's where he was playing, on the left-hand side, and he was looking good in that role. So I was okay with it. I'll get on to my point in a second, just bear with me. And then obviously Danny Ings came in for Antonio. But what frustrated me was, despite these three changes and the profile of each player being different to the one they're replacing, because at the minute, I think the setup that we've currently got, the tactics we currently play, suit Bowen, Benrahma and Antonio. I think it does. I think it suits all three of them. The way that we want to play this counter-attacking football, the way that we use Antonio as a bit of a target man, but also somebody that can hold on to the ball while others get up. It works. It suits Antonio. The way we allow Benrahma to get the ball and run at defenders, it suits him. It suits Jack. Them three are in roles that they like, and I'm comfortable with that. But we took out those three and put in another three and continued playing the same way. Fornals was basically trying to do what Jared Bowen does. Correa was trying to do what Benrahma did, and worst of all, Ings was trying to do what Antonio done. Well, actually, even worse than that. It wasn't just how they play, it's the way they were asked to play, because we saw examples in the first half of Ings coming out to the left channel and Cornet going through the middle. Quite frequently, Antonio and Benrahma switch, but it works because Antonio gets out and gets up against a full-back or drags that centre-back out onto the touchline and gets one-on-one with him and quite often beats him. And I'm looking forward to seeing that tomorrow night. But Ings can't do that. Ings can't beat anyone in a one-on-one race, and it was just frustrating, but it's just another reminder that without Antonio, don't bother, really. We can't change it. We cannot change the system. We're incapable of doing it. Well, Moyes struggles without Antonio, and that's going to happen. Plan A around Antonio is fine, but have a plan B, but we don't have one, and that's why I feel Antonio is our most important player. Should he be? No. I don't think he should, but I do feel like he is. But the reason at the very start I said just be honest with your opinions, it's my honest opinion, and I don't think that many people will agree with me, but I'm okay with it. I've explained my reasoning. Now, what we have to do is rectify this, and I'm looking long term here. In the summer, we need to sort this. And there's a few options. Obviously, option A is change the manager, but let's rule that one out in the sense that it doesn't feel like it's going to happen. But let's rule that one out. Let's assume Moyes was here next season. He has to sort this in the summer. Antonio cannot be our most important player. He can't. Because of his age, because of his injury record, which has been really good recently. But also because we've spent 50 million on two other strikers. You can't just ignore them and pretend they're not there. So we need to rectify something. And that is either changing the way we play. And it doesn't even have to be come up with a new plan A and stick with that. It could be having 3 different plans depending on who the striker is. Play one way with Antonio. Play a different way if Scamacca's playing. And play an even different way if Danny Ings was playing. Now that one's unlikely. But if Scamacca was here, we're going to have to change it. We can't just keep doing this. And then of course the third option. Transfers. Sell Scamacca. Sell Danny Ings. Bring in another version of Michail Antonio. I think sometimes having variety in your types of players, so you're not relying on just one kind of way of playing, is the best way. But that only works if you're adaptable. That only works if you have a plan B and a plan C. But when you don't have them, I think you're actually better off just stockpiling the same profile of player for whatever position. It's not necessarily striker, it's just striker in West Ham's case. It could be, let's just say Manchester City at the minute. We know how Pep likes to play and how he doesn't necessarily want to use Walker at the minute. He's spoken about how Kyle Walker can't do the role that John Stones is doing by playing sort of hybrid right back defence midfield. And my point was, he doesn't need to stockpile that, because when Kyle Walker comes in, City just change the way they play. They just, right, okay, I can't ask Walker to do what Stones does, so we're going to change it. But we're going to then do something on the left-hand side in order to accommodate Kyle Walker in the team. It's flexible. Whereas with us, we're not flexible. You might as well just stockpile. So what I'm trying to say is David Moyes needs Antonio II and Antonio III next season, whereas Pep doesn't need John Stones II. He can just continue using Kyle Walker and changing his system. So the summer is huge in order to stop Antonio being the main man next season. And that's got nothing to do with Antonio. because I've got a lot of admiration for the way he's been the last few months. And all we have to do is rewind to January. Well, actually, we'll go back to the start of the season. Or if you want, we can go back to when we sold Sebastian Haller. We sold Sebastian Haller and Antonio was the main man. He was the only striker. Our second choice striker was Andrei Yarmolenko. So Antonio went and changed his life. I don't know how much he's done or what he's done. He's only really spoken about how he's changed his diet and the way he goes about things in order to remain fit. And it's worked. When's the last time he was out for a significant period? You can't think of it, can you? I can't. I should have probably looked it up, really. But I can't tell you when it was. It feels like Antonio has been fit for a long time. I know he missed the game, but that's it. He missed Sunday. He's back tomorrow night. One game he missed. Whoop-de-doo. But he used to be out for prolonged periods with his hamstring injuries because his hamstrings are like pepperoni. But we've not had that problem. He's gone and changed his lifestyle to get the best out of him, and it's working so far. And there was a lot of pressure on him for a long, long time at West Ham. The only striker, the main man. Do you know something? I thought he was brilliant. I've defended the case for Antonio a lot. Is he a number 9? Not really, but I do think he's moulded himself as much as he can, really, to be a striker without actually being a natural striker. I've been very impressed by it. This season he fell off. This season he wasn't that good. Scamacca come in and basically Antonio got told that's our main man now. We've seen it. Start of the season, Scamacca was in the team. Not all the new signings did. Emerson had to be patient. Downs had to be very patient. Cornet had to be patient. Obviously, Gerd was injured. Paqueta went straight in as well as an expensive signing. Ariola's been parked on the bench. But Scamacca was one of the summer signings that Moyes put straight into the team. Said, there you go, I'm going to make this work. Antonio, sorry, thank you for us relying on you for the last 18 months. Take your place on the bench now because we've got a new main man. And then we called on him when Scamacca was out, which was quite often. Antonio would come back into the team and he was generally playing okay at best. And I don't think he was reliable. Antonio I don't think was dependable this season. Coming into January transfer window, we're in a relegation battle. What's the answer? We'll go get Danny Ings. Let's go get Danny Ings. We'll pay him double what Antonio's on. Antonio, you're now third choice striker at West Ham essentially. Scamacca's out injured, Ings is out injured, Antonio plays. Either one of them were fit, they go back into the team. So come the end of the January transfer window, Antonio's now doing his football podcast with Callum Wilson, twerking for a move away. He's 2 or 3 weeks on the bounce. Yeah, there's speculation. Yeah, there's some clubs that want me. If it happens, it happens. He always said, if I stay at West Ham, I'm happy with that. I'm happy at West Ham. But if a move comes up, I'll consider it because I want to be playing football. I never had a problem with anything he said. You know, I remember doing the videos about his podcast because there was a bit of an outrage, and I remember saying, well, actually, I don't have an issue with it. He's been very honest, and I think you had to listen to the podcast. I think when you read what he said, taken out of context, it looked bad. It looked damaging for Antonio, but I think when you listen to the entire conversation, I don't think it was anything untoward towards West Ham. I think it was quite a reasoned response from Antonio, which is, I want to be playing football. I like West Ham, I love West Ham, I love the fans, but I want to be playing football and I'm not doing that at the moment. But anyway, the transfer window's shut because obviously injuries to Scamacca and Danny Ings at this point, so he's now our only striker again. So he couldn't get his move away. And he rolled his sleeves up. Antonio rolled his sleeves up and got on with it, and it's been significant. I don't think we'd be in the semi-final without Antonio. I don't even think we'd survive. I don't think we'd be clear of relegation as we are at this point without Michail Antonio. I think he's been vital in the last couple of months. And I go back to what I said at the start. I know you'll say, well, he hasn't scored loads of goals. He scored a significant one on Thursday, but it's not his goal contribution. Should you judge your striker on goals? Absolutely. That's their job. Their job is to score goals. But Antonio's job isn't just to do that at West Ham. Antonio's job at West Ham is also to basically allow us to build the way we play around you as a type of striker you are. And he's been significant. I do think Antonio's been crucial in the last few months. And it comes after, just 4 months ago, he was trying to get out of the club so he could go play first team football. And I almost shiver a little bit because one of the clubs that were after him, not Chelsea, I don't believe that one, Wolves were, remember, but also Everton. Everton were after him. And I do wonder, had we sold him to Everton, if they'd be above us at this point because of the way Antonio plays. I don't know, it's hypothetical. But what I do know is I think we're better off having kept Antonio. And I've just been very, very impressed by his attitude recently, to be honest with you. I think when we watched that game against Brentford, there was a few players in that team who haven't had the game time they wanted, haven't, let's just say, shown the love. Let's just use Jesse Lingard. Moyes hasn't shown them the love that they would have liked. I think you can apply that to Michail Antonio a little bit. I think Antonio could turn around and say, well, I've not been showing the love that I wanted when Scamacca arrived and when Danny Ings arrived. I basically got told I'm third choice. I'm finished at West Ham. But he got on with it. There was a reaction from him on Sunday against Brentford. While it was our B team, they played like the B team, some of those players. Some of those players didn't look like they wanted to be out there. And I was just watching it thinking, if only they had a little bit more of the Antonio attitude, we might have played a bit better against Brentford. If only they had that let's roll my sleeves up and try and get back into that starting 11 about them, we might have done a little bit better against Brentford. And I've just got a lot of respect and admiration for Antonio, because I know people say, yeah, he's well paid, it's his job, get on with it. I appreciate that, but there is a sort of a mental health aspect to it as well, where he's given everything for the club for a while, then he gets discarded a little bit because of Scamacca and Ings, but he's put himself back in the team. And if Ings and Scamacca were fully fit tomorrow night, and if all three were fully fit tomorrow night, who would you have as a striker? I bet most of you right now are saying Antonio. I'm saying Antonio. It should be Scamacca. Scamacca should be the answer, but it's not. It's Antonio. Antonio is the answer. I think that's what makes him the most important player at West Ham right now. We need to rectify it in the summer. It cannot be the case next season. And the last thing I'm going to say, which is perhaps even more controversial than all that, and it's a bit dangerous, but I'm going to say it because I've been thinking about it. It's maybe something I'll do as a video with Gonzo or something. If we win this trophy. Now, this is my opinion. I did a video about Moyes a couple of days ago, and I said if we win the trophy, Moyes becomes a hero. And someone said, no, he doesn't. I said, well, he does. It's my opinion. He's not a hero in your opinion, and that's okay. But you can't tell me what my opinion is. It's not how it works. It's an opinion. My opinion, not yours, mine only. You think how you think. My opinion is if we win this trophy, they all become heroes. Every single one of them. All the players, all the manager, they all become heroes. But I think there's an argument, and this is possibly one of the most subjective opinion pieces you can have, which is who is a legend at your football club. There's no right. There's some right answers, but there's a group of players that some people will say is a legend, and some people will say they're not a legend. There's that group of players. But I do think if we win this trophy, one or two of the players in that squad become a legend at West Ham United. Not all of them. I'm not going to say who, because I feel a bit harsh if I start saying, well, I wouldn't call him a legend. You can think of a couple, can't you? But I think Michail Antonio would, for me. A lot of people consider him a legend already. He's a record Premier League goal scorer. A lot of people already consider him a legend. I'm not quite there. Call it hero, sure. But I think if we win the Conference League trophy, I think he does. I think he does for me. And in the semi-final and in the finals, if we win it, I wouldn't be surprised if he's had a big hand in those 90 minutes performances for the reason for us winning that trophy. If Antonio turns up in beast mode tomorrow, now I'll say it, last Thursday, I don't think he had a good game. Got the goal, happy days, but I thought his all-round play was poor. He was diving around a lot, trying to get free kicks. If we get beast mode Antonio tomorrow night, my confidence levels increase a lot. Because beast mode Antonio is enjoyable to watch, he's hard to mark, and he would, in my opinion, become a legend at West Ham if we win this Conference League trophy. But there you go. There is possibly my unpopular but honest opinion. The number one rule at Hammers Chat. If you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on it. Subscribe to Hammers Chat. And I'll catch up with you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow for the semi-final day, isn't it? I am getting nervous. I have to confess, I'm really nervous already. But tomorrow's going to be a different level of fever and nerves. Anyway, I'll catch up with you tomorrow.